Welcome to Trav Vision. This is part of Traveller Politics. We're here in the Shamrock Lodge in Athlone, and it's an absolute beautiful venue. It's a beautiful day outside. We've got a lot of fantastic people speaking, all traveller activists in one way or another. We've speak to various travellers who are running in the elections, those who are running this programme on behalf of Mincier Whiden in promoting the idea and encouraging travellers to go out, register and vote, and that's the way forward. So we'll keep you up to date with that and more to come. Welcome to Trav Vision. We're in the Shamrock Lodge in Athlone, and it's part of the Mincier Whiden organisation, which is setting up traveller political participation. I am joined with one of the founding members, one of the current members, although he's a bit off doing his PhD at the moment. All right, studies?
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. Thomas McCann is a very well-known, very well-liked and a very well-respected activist, and he has been for quite some years. And that doesn't seem to be changing. Thomas, you came here this morning, obviously part of the traveller participation. How's it going?
Yeah, it's well, I think it's very good. I think it's really good starting point. You know, in terms of one is the booklet and kind of looking at the workshop and that, and setting the groundwork for a more kind of more engagement with the traveller community around registration, because it really is so important that people are registered and do vote, you know, and at least it gives them a choice to have some say. You know, some people say if you don't register, then you know what right do you have to challenge people? You know, if you're not.
One of the key things I would imagine here, or at least the message I would like to take away from it, is you're encouraging travellers to register to vote. You're not telling them vote for one political party or another, just to encourage them to register to vote, because that has a fundamental importance when it comes to elections, particularly around doing halting sites, health, employment. Everything is political.
Yeah. Regardless of who people vote for, you can't tell people who to vote for. But like if you're not registered, you don't have a choice. You don't have any choice in the matter. You know, and policies is being made that will affect you, your life, and your family's life, and the wider community's life. So like you don't have a say in that. Unless you were registered to vote. Like who you vote for, I mean, you know, hopefully that people would be, you know, politicised or kind of have some analysis around, you know, what the causes of inequality and racism and all them things, and would vote for people who are against them issues and are kind of putting policies in place. However, you can't tell people you know, who to vote for. So no, people decide that themselves. That's a personal choice.
If there was one clear message you would send out to people that have lost faith, disenfranchised, whatever the reason might be, and there's enough reasons why people wouldn't get involved with politics in this country, but if there was something to overturn that or give them a provoke their thoughts, what would it be?
Look, change is always possible. You know, it's like, you know, we can stand on the sidelines and watch the game, or we can get involved. If, you know, we either decide to get involved in it and try and change it, or we accept the way things are, you know. And so by no action, we're in some ways accepting what is there, you know. Well, however small the action we take, it empowers us and it empowers the community to bring change to that, to shape that change, because that change will happen. It's just what kind of change is that going to be? Is it going to be more negative change for the community, or are we going to try and shape it to be more positive change? And that's the message I would give.
It's a bit like, I suppose, climate change. You have two choices: either believe it or don't believe it. What have you got to lose if you don't believe it?
Well, what you have to lose if you don't get involved and if you don't believe it is that it'll start affecting you in your life. And climate change is a much broader issue. I mean, when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about policies that's being made at the local level, about your accommodation, about your children's accommodation and about their future. I'm talking about unemployment, 84–85% among the traveller community. And there's no national unemployment strategy in place, or employment strategy, I should say, in place. That's what I'm talking about. Them policies need to change. Now, we can look on at that and other people making them policies, or we can have a say, you know. And I think we need to get up and we need to get out, and it's not a huge, you know, it doesn't take a huge effort to register, and at least then we can decide, well, who's making what policies.
Absolutely. Thomas McCann, thank you very much. And just before you go, the reference I made about climate change, it was much the same of not voting. What have you to lose? You have everything to lose. So why not just register to vote? Why not get involved with either climate change, whatever it is?
And just to say, climate change is very important, and we do need to look at the climate, we need to look at the environment, and we do need to become mindful of how that impacts on all of us.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Thomas McCann, traveller activist, and we follow up with a few more interviews as soon as we catch him coming in and out of the doors.
I learned very quickly politics was a kind of slightly different game from community development, and I had a couple of tutors because in any council or in any group you start to know who the officials are, you start to know who the councillors are, you start to know who the cliques, and there are cliques within councils. Certain councillors are attracted to one another. I don't mean that way. They're attracted to work together, you know, and they work together and work close in tandem. So you have to learn that out fast. So I got involved with a couple of like-minded people that were kind of, were good and had supported travellers over the years. So there's four of us. We'd meet every month, once a month we used to meet, and sometimes we'd meet in between that, come up with some strategies and how to work and get some issues passed.
Okay, now we're joined with a fine gentleman, Martin Ward from Tuam. Martin previously had ran in the elections. He got elected as a town councillor. He went on to become the mayor of Tuam. He took a step back from politics for a period of time, but now he's back with a bang. Today he's at the Mincier Whiden launch of Traveller Political Participation, which couldn't be a better event to attend. But Martin, welcome.
Thank you, Bernard. Delighted to get the opportunity to let you interview me.
No worries. What are you hoping to come from today? What's the message you want to get out there?
Well, I think it's important the message is that the travellers have a role to play in elections, whether they're local or national and stuff like that. And it's all about participation, and it's about getting people's voices heard. If we don't register and we don't vote, our voices as travellers will never be heard. We can make change, and that change can be subtle, but we can at some stages control local democracy in that we can decide as a group to target and support certain local councillors or certain TDs, and when we start doing that and we get into that frame of mind, that's when we'll see changes starting to happen at local level.
One of the things you'll find, and again, I was no stranger to myself to this because I only started to register to vote for a few years back, is you do become kind of dismayed or disenfranchised with the whole political system. It's quite complicated, you feel worthless, you not feel you're at it, even if you did vote. But that's not really the case, because the beginning point of anything, or to create change, is taking that first step. And so to register to vote, it's not about voting for one political party or another, it's about getting registered to vote, get out there and make a difference. Would that be the fundamental purpose of today?
It is, and it's what democracy is all about. And of course, you're 100% right that travellers and there's certain sections of the settlement community are totally disenfranchised with the whole system and the way the system is going. But if we don't have a voice, if we don't have a vote, what's the point of complaining? We can make change, we can make things happen. And unless we get out there and support particular candidates, it makes no difference what parties you says who want to vote for. The important thing is that we vote, and we can make an awful lot of changes if we want things to happen in our own area. And I would say, Bernard, we have to bring this back to kind of what they used to call local parish pump politics. What happens is the locality, for whether it's a TD or a councillor or it's all down to what the locals want or what the local community wants and those demands. And we can make changes happen at local council, whether it's around traveller accommodation, whether it's around traveller education, whether it's around traveller healthcare. Travellers themselves, if they vote and registered, they have a strong voice. Their voice is an awful lot stronger than they think.
Absolutely. The other thing is you've come back with a bang, haven't you? You've come out of retirement. It's a bit like the old Rocky movies, isn't it?
It is.
And you've linked up with a political party. Would you like to tell us a bit about that political party and your ideas for the future?
Okay, I did, Bernard. At one stage here, I decided that I was finished with politics. I was finished with even publicity. For over the years, I've kind of declined doing interviews. But I says, look at I see the way the whole system is going. I says, look, I still have something to offer, and I get back into it. I joined into, which is the new Republican Party. It's a pro-life party, pro-family, pro-Irish party. That it's been set up by the Paddy Tobin, who was a member of Sinn Féin. And I think the party is going in the right direction, and their policies are policies that I would agree with. As a former politician and a former mayor, I think I still have something to offer. And when I was in the council for over 13 years, I do know that I got subtle changes and I got a lot of achievements done through working with officials and working with other politicians and working with the travelling community. And I think I still have, as I says, and without constantly repeating the same thing, I still have a lot to offer, and I still think that changes can be made for the better. And Local politics to me are national politics, because what happens at local level should impact on what's happening at national level, you know.
Well, not that I be much of anyone to give an endorsement, but I would say this much: for a man that knows you for quite a lot of years, you are very reputable, a very tireless campaigner for rights of people in Tuam, not just travellers, but also settled people. You've been known for that. So on behalf of Tramp Vision, and we will most certainly have you on again in the future, we should height a look, and we really would encourage travellers in your locality to get out and vote Martin Ward.
Thank you very much, Martin. Delighted there, and thanks again for giving me the opportunity and to speak.
You're more than welcome, my friend, anytime.
Thanks, Martin.
Now we're joined with Cindy Joyce, who recently graduated in University of Limerick, sociology and...
Just sociology.
That's all, really? Is that it? Okay, well that's it now. No, I'm just joking. A doctor's, right, because it was a PhD, and I was there. It was a brilliant day, a brilliant event. Cindy, you're here again today in the Shamrock Lodge, and you're promoting traveller participation in politics. You're also speaking. Could you give us a few hints what you might be talking about?
Well, I suppose I'm just talking about the role of the Irish government on our lives as a community, on traveller lives. So what role had the government and what role have they in our lives, and how our lives are controlled and ruled by the government.
One of the things about political participation is that when we look at it, we see sort of a different dynamic, because it's very heavy load with particular types of politicians, either the rich, they're either landlords. So when we encourage travellers to vote, we're not telling them to run out and try to get elected. We're telling them to use their vote to influential policies change and so on and so forth. What would you say particularly to traveller women within our community about politics?
I suppose particularly to traveller women, I think like that, not only for traveller women, but I think all travellers over the age of 18 need to register and vote. I suppose like there is a lot of disenfranchisement within the community, and there is a lot of us saying like what difference will it make, and why do we need to vote, because nothing is ever done about our situation that we're living in, like the circumstances that some of our community is living in, are circumstances that we have seen in Ireland, like in the early 1900s, you know, the poverty, the marginalisation, the isolation, the issues that we're facing, the suicide rates, the overcrowding rates in halting sites, issues with waste collection, issues with where the sites are even located.
You will see a lot of this, Cindy, throughout your work, because you've done quite a few theses on various parts of the country, Galway, rural, city, working with young travellers. So obviously you would see the need or the lack of politics. Would that be it?
That would be definitely it, yeah. And I think one of the main things is that the majority of the time that these politicians are standing up and going up for election, a lot of they know that the traveller community, that our community are not going to vote, that they're not going to get votes from us. So they don't care about us, they don't care about our situation that we're in, because they're not going to get our votes. But I suppose for me, my advice would be for my community is to look at the politicians in your area and look at their manifestos, see what they're about, see their track record on different social issues around disadvantaged areas. What have they done in the past? What have they done for different groups of people around that local area? And then decide who you want to vote for. And once these politicians know that they're likely to get traveller votes, and high numbers of traveller votes at that, well then the politicians are going to begin to care, because they're working for you. The politicians work for the voters, they work for registered voters. So when you're not a registered voter, they're not working for you. So you can go up to TDs and politicians and you can ask them what they're doing for you, but they're not doing anything for you, because you haven't voted for any of the political parties or independents. And I suppose what it is, you see, then is once they know that our vote can make a difference, it can actually tip the scale. Like one vote can make a difference in who gets elected. And the thing is, I suppose, is that we have seen it for decades upon decades. These, as you call them, these rich landlords, wealthy people that stand up for elections, and they keep being re-elected and re-elected continuously over again. And I suppose the reason for that is because they're gearing towards a certain element in the community that they know that they can get votes from. And I suppose once they see that we can actually tip those scales, that they're relying on our votes, that if they don't get our votes, well then they won't be seated in these positions. And once once we break that cycle of disrupting the same politicians and continuously going in, the ones that we see that are anti-traveller, that are anti-traveller accommodation, culturally appropriate accommodation, standing up going against it, even I suppose a lot of politicians that have anti-traveller rhetoric coming out of them in order to gain votes. So they're looking at the element of the community, they're looking at the group of the community in their local area that would be, I suppose, against halting sites in their area, that would be against travellers going into their area and so forth. And they make promises then that they're going to stop traveller accommodation, for example, coming into that area if they get their vote. But I suppose if travellers start voting, well then they're going to have to start making promises to the community then in order to get the votes that they'll be in then, and then we can... like things won't change overnight, but slowly things will change.
Quite clearly, apart from you being quite naturally intelligent anyway, I imagine you were born intelligent. And
Bernard gives a compliment.
Well, believe it or not, I've come to find out lately that the vast majority are actually they're born intelligent. A different kind of education, intelligence. But with all that, you have got the passion, you got the dedication, you got determination, you got the whole lot. Will you, or are you considering in running in political life?
I wouldn't say no in the future, but I'm not for the upcoming elections. I'm not running. Yeah.
Cindy Joyce, thank you very much for joining me, and no doubt we'll have you on multitude of different platforms for different reasons. Keep up the good work, and we're all very proud of you.
Thank you very much. So 19 years later, so what do we do? In another 20 years, we give the same recommendations over again? For what? It's a repeat cycle after cycle after cycle after strategy after policy. And there's nobody listening to us. And I suppose one of the biggest reasons that nobody is listening to us is because it's so normalised how we're treated that we just tend to accept it as a community. We tend to just say, yeah, sure, that's the way it is, that's the way it always has been, that's the way it is. And what can we do? And we tend to sit back. But sitting back complaining about it in the last 100 years, it has done us no good. And we haven't been a passive community being quiet about our situation. A lot of people think that we have been passive and sat back and said nothing and allowed this to happen. We have always been an active community. We've always been active in protesting, particularly, I suppose, from the late 70s into the 80s and the 90s. We have protested against the issues and the accommodation issues and the health issues and so forth. But we seem to get nowhere with it. We seem like that we're still stuck in 1922 when the foundation of the state was built.
Okay, now we're joined with Martin Collins, joint coordinator of Pavy Point Travel Organisation based in Dublin. And if you remember back at our launch, we had it in the Pavy Point Hall. And Martin was among one of the many guests. Now we're joined here again in the Shamrock Lodge Hotel in Athlone. Martin, the whole idea of today is Mincier Whiden promoting traveller participation in politics, and to give them a kickstart in terms of registering to vote is your first start. Would that be the theme of the day?
Yeah, I think this is a really important event that we're having here in Athlone today, organised by Mincier Whiden Travel Running Forum. And basically, the whole purpose of today is to generate an awareness among travellers of the importance and the significance of engaging in politics, both at local level, national level, and indeed at a European level, and also to encourage travellers to consider standing as candidates in, either as independents or as members of political parties, or even travellers might want to establish their own political party, and I certainly wouldn't rule that out. But the overall aim is just to create an awareness of how important it is to engage in politics and the influence that the political system has on travellers' lives. And quite often we travellers don't have influence over the political system. And we can see the outcomes of that in terms of poor health, poor living conditions, high unemployment rates, low educational attainment, racism and exclusion. So, by engaging in the body politic, we have the potential to influence policies that could have a positive impact on our lives. Although I will say that we need to be careful that we don't say that engaging in politics is going to be a magic wand and it will resolve all of our issues. Travellers have engaged in a number of different strategies over the years to try and affect change. So community development, empowerment, traveller participation is important. Going to court cases, getting legal advice, using the judicial system to have our rights vindicated. And also just old-fashioned protest, demonstrations, chaining yourself to the radiators in public buildings. These are all valid ways of highlighting human rights abuses and to call on the state to fulfil their legal obligations in terms of vindicating travellers' human rights.
When you break it down to the semantics of it all, down to the smaller grains of it, the fundamental thing is that without a vote, you're getting treated less than ordinary. Now, travellers are already getting treated less than ordinary. When I say less than ordinary, I mean unequal and to be quite honest, you're treated worse than animals in some situations. Through Irish politics, unfortunately, that's the way it is. Yeah. The only way we can ever truly influence that, change that, is registering to vote. Because not registering to vote doesn't change nothing for the politics that's coming at you, because they're continuing to do what they're doing anyway. So, I suppose, the single vote, and I was going to bring to the point of travellers who are homeless, right, and the importance, even for travellers who are feeling disenfranchised and homeless, that there must be a way of getting their to register to vote. And I was suggesting earlier on that maybe that if travellers went to the local authorities would set up a registered care of address for those who are homeless. Something like this, because we do really need to get every single individual out there and register to vote.
Well, I think first of all we need to challenge the apathy and the disillusionment among our own people in relation to voting. Travellers feel, and rightly so, and justifiably so, feel very let down and feel failed by the system, by the state and by the political apparatus. And I understand that. I can identify with that as a traveller man myself. But having said that, the only way, or one of the ways we can potentially change things is for travellers to engage in politics, register, vote, stand as candidates either as independents or as members of political parties. I find it quite incredible that you have people in different parts of the globe, in Venezuela, for example, at the moment, fighting for a democracy, fighting for the right to vote for what leadership they want and what policies they want for their country, and indeed in many other parts of the globe.
This is the complicating about politics. Yeah. It's not a blueprint. It's set in stone, and we all know that. And the situation with Venezuela is that there was a democracy. Yeah. A guy who didn't run in the elections turns up and contests the election. So it does, of course, it gets complicated. Like you said, there's no magic wand, but it is a good starting point. What's the next step for Mincier Whiden from here? Is it just today? Is it tomorrow? Or is there a follow-up?
No. It's really important that we keep our foot now on the pedal. This will be part of an ongoing process where Mincier Whiden will go out to the regions, speak to travellers and local traveller groups, and begin, to further that discussion and that awareness raising about the importance of registering and voting. And really, I don't think this will work in the way that we would like it to work unless we get the full engagement and the support of the local traveller organisations. And I expect that will be there, because they're best placed at local level to mobilise and engage with the local traveller community, and certainly we can support that process. But it won't work unless the local traveller groups engage constructively and positively with this process. And the final point I would make here is, over the years we've seen here in Ireland, in general elections and local elections, we have seen seats being won and lost on a handful of votes. We've seen recounts. So people's vote does matter. It can make a difference between a particular candidate getting a seat or not getting a seat. So 5 votes, 3 votes, 2 votes actually can make a big difference. And it's important that travellers are aware of that. I remember back in the 80s, the Tony Gregory deal. He held the balance of power between Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, and both parties were negotiating with him to get his vote. And he held out until he got a good package and a good deal for his constituents in the North Inner City in terms of accommodation and employment opportunities. So one person, a small number of persons, can make a huge difference.
Well, I remember the minister this morning, he made reference, I think it was to Dick Spring, who got elected with 4 votes. So yeah, absolutely. So we're going to leave with that. I want to say thanks again to Martin Collins for coming and taking the time out for to have a few words, and we'll follow up with you later on, and we'll talk to you later on. Thank you. Now we're joined with Katrin Coffee, who lives in Cork, who's running in the local elections, and I believe you're running with a political party, Workers' Party?
Yeah, the Workers' Party. So basically it's the Socialist Party. primary objective of the party is the housing crisis at the moment. We have to address the housing. We also have to address about the rent, the non-rent regulations, high rents and incomes are it's part of across the board with the Workers' Party. A fair wage, affordable rent, affordable housing and more investment into social housing and health and education.
And you've also identified yourself, rightly so, because you were born so, traveller woman.
I'm a tinker's granddaughter, and my mother made paper roses and she taught me how to make paper roses. We sold them. I sold relics. I raffled off holy pictures. I don't know if that's a sin now, but we did it anyway. I was fortunate. I was very lucky. I had an older generation of women that taught me a set of skills I could survive anywhere. I was taught to respect my elders, and I was taught to be a good person. They showed it to me.
You seem to do it flawlessly, I can tell you. No, that's good too. Nobody is, and nobody should be perfect. As a travel woman running in elections, obviously you have the whole background of who you are and where you come from. It has to be on the forefront of your mind going into politics. What would some of the issues be for travellers in your area?
Well, obviously, accommodation is one of them. Another issue and I see in everyday life is employment, life chances. But across the board, I've seen it in the north side of the city. If you come from a deprived background, if you're living on social welfare and you're living week to week, whether you're a traveller or settled, the life chances of your child are cut very short. Like when austerity was introduced into this country, the first round of cuts in the north side was to the preschools. Now traveller children and settled children use those preschools. And some of those kids had special needs. And the minute the cutbacks happened, those kids lost hours. Therefore, when they went into primary, they were already behind. Therefore, their life chances were cut short. They probably wouldn't even finish secondary school, not alone attend university. And in this day and age, that is wrong.
Absolutely. Now you're here today, part of, you've been invited guest to speak with Mincier Whiden's traveller political participation.
Yeah.
What's the message you're trying to deliver to travellers today about encouraging them to register to vote? How important is it, Katrin?
You have no idea about how important it is to vote. You need to register to vote because if you have an issue that's affecting you, whether it's accommodation, whether it's being discriminated against, whether it's about getting a reference from them, so if you're applying for a job or for a college course or something, they actually look up and see who's registered to vote. And they'll only represent those who vote. And unfortunately, if you're not registered to vote, they're not going to entertain you. Also, being honest about it, when it comes down to it, if you don't register to vote, you are excluding yourself. It's like looking in the window there and watching this interview, and you have no say. You're taking your power away from yourself.
You're pushed to the sidelines, aren't you?
Yeah, I remember my first vote was for the first female president of Ireland. Yes, I know she was backed by Labour, but that's not the point. It was predominantly because she was a female. It was Mary Robinson. Yeah. I thumbed 25 miles to vote. And it wasn't because I was made to do it. It wasn't because I had to do it. It's because I wanted to do it. And ever since. Now, this year, I'll be honest about it, it came close when it came to the presidential election. Over all the controversy that happened in that. But I still voted. But I didn't vote for the big controversy. Yeah, the biggest. I didn't vote for him at all. But realistically, at the end of the day, it's like anything. If you don't have if you have the keys to your house and you go out the night out and you lose the key to your house, you're locked out, that means you're going to have to get a locksmith or something. It's the same thing with the vote. Yeah, you don't vote, then if you're not going to vote, don't complain then.
It mightn't feel like much security to have a vote, but it is a form of security in terms you could put the right person in and hopefully keep the wrong person out. Isn't that effectively it?
You could go down to, we were discussing today, go down to 3 or 4 votes, and you could get someone that actually is like-minded to us, that knows the struggles travellers have, knows what working class people, the struggles they have, and could fight our corner for us. Absolutely. Or, if you don't vote, we might get some people in that don't like our kind and will keep doors shut on us.
That's it.
To be honest about it, I'm running because I'm tired of looking from the outside in. I want to dismantle. I want to go in and I want to, if I don't understand something, I don't regurgitate it. So when I'm running for the seat and I'm trying to get, I'm hoping, I am an underdog, I'm under no illusions, but I'm hoping to get the seat, and if I did, I would hope to make a difference across the north side, because we have a mixed population on the north side. We've traveller, we've settled, we've travellers that are married to settled, we have children there from all age groups, and all those children deserve a fair chance.
Absolutely.
And accommodation, if it look, but bottom line is accommodation is a primary. We need accommodations.
Absolutely. Now, I would say this to you because, and it's no secret anyway, because everyone in the country knows that the backbone of the traveller community are traveller women.
Yeah.
Like, fine people saying to you, you already know this. But I would say if you were to speak out to young traveller women, not just even register to vote, but encourage them to get into politics, what would you say to them?
I would say to them, look, I didn't come, as I just said earlier on, I made paper roses. I gigged at the back doors of convents. I sold relics. I raffled holy pictures. And I'll be straight down the line with you. I used to do an awful lot of listening on the television, because reading and writing wouldn't have been a big thing in my family. And then what happened was that I started asking questions. And then I had to meet a person that would have known a lot about politics and about housing and different things. And we spoke, and then I got more curious. And the message I give to young travelling women, if you don't know something, whether it's about politics or anything, beautician, hairdressing, au pair, anything, ask. Go and ask. Go to the local youth worker, go to the local traveller. If there's a travellers group, go to them. They're facilitators. Don't be afraid to ask. And if you don't understand the word, look it up. That's what I did. I had a dictionary for every subject when I went back to college. I tell you, because the language was different.
That's it.
And look it up, and once you understand the meaning of the word, then you can use it.
Absolutely. Katrin, we're going to leave it there, and it's absolutely delighted in talking to you. It's the first time to meet you. I've known you on Facebook. I think you're a remarkable woman, fantastic activist, and I hope, and I really do, because not are you just coming at this as a political socialist concept, but you're also coming at it as a traveller woman. You're also coming at it as a woman. You're also coming at it with a person that has a lot of mixed communities that are on very similar par with one another. So you could.
It doesn't discriminate, and that's the thing at the moment. We have an unequal playing field when it comes to children's chances. Every child should be able to read and write. Every child should have the security of a roof over their head and a dinner on their table. Absolutely. And sadly, in this country, it's not happening at the moment.
Well, that's it. You heard it from Katrin Coffee. And look at you guys in Cork. Please give her an opportunity. Please give her a chance, because I think she could do some wonderful things for Cork and indeed all people and not just travellers. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernard.
Well, that's it from TravVision, but before we go, I thought it was quite an eventful event with some great people on, some interesting topics being talked about, issues being raised. Now, we also have Peter Casey coming up in just after St. Patrick's weekend, so that'll be something also to watch out for. Now, I'll just do this a quick reminder and tell you exactly what TravVision is once more. It is a working class channel. We're not professionals, we're not funded. We try to stay within the best guidelines of good practice that we can possibly come across, but we do not pull punches. We can afford to. The other thing I would also like to finish up and just please and ask you to go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. The subscribe is not about just getting up the numbers. It's about getting up the numbers to create and generate some revenue that will give us the opportunity to go out and do more projects like this. So once again, I hope you enjoyed TravVision. Stay tuned, get involved, and we'll talk to you guys soon.